I would like to invite up Sabina Michael to the stage. She's the Associate Director of the Intercultural Skills Lab at University of Toronto Rotman School. And I have the privilege of interviewing her today to find out more about the program, which I had no idea that existed until about a month ago. So I'm sure you're going to find it just as interesting as I did. So Sabina, come on up. You run the Intercultural Skills Lab at Rotman. Let's start with what the lab is and a bit of its history.
Sure. So the Intercultural Skills Lab is a department that started out as a single program. It was a program that's called Business Edge. I think Neelam referenced it when she was talking. And what happened, this is in 2009, Rotman ran a program called the Judy Project, which was targeting women who wanted to be CEOs. And the question that they asked every woman was, what's one thing that you needed? And they said, we want this course when we started our careers, not when we are at this peak. And so Rotman then started the Initiative for Women in Business. And one of the programs that they launched at that time was for immigrant women. What we had found, Pat, at that time was that there's a lot of support for immigrants when you first come to the country. There's a number of programs, there are a number of agencies, and I'm talking 10, 15 years back. But there's nothing for you when you're in the job. And what we found was that it was a bit of a sink and swim. Those who could figure out the path managed to make it. For some of them, the journey was very painful. And we found that immigrant women, the challenge was double, right? You face the challenge of being a woman, but also the intersectionality of being an immigrant. And so that's when this program was launched. We launched it in 2009. It was for women only. It did very well, and the goal of the program was to support career advancement. It was focused on what does careers mean in Canada and how do you advance to the levels that you were in your home country. The program did well. The spouses complained. They said that we were discriminating. And so we then opened it out to men as well. And then it became confusing as hell for everybody. Why does the Initiative for Women in Business have men in the program? And so we thought, who are we and what do we want to be? And in our work with immigrants, the thing that we realized that we did well and what was unique to us was we focused a lot on the impact of intercultural skills. And we took it from the perspective of not that you're Indian, and so this is how you are likely to behave, or you're from Mexico and this is how you are likely to behave, but looking at it really from the perspective of cultural values. If this is your value, and I think this goes back to the predictive analytics tool that you were talking about. If these are your values and somebody has a different cultural value, where does the clash happen? And how can you work together? And so we thought this is our strength. And so that's when we decided to call ourselves the Intercultural Skills Lab. So that is our story.
So how many people participate in it?
So we've been around since 2009, and I think I've lost track of the number of cohorts. I think we are at cohort number 30 or 35. We've had quite a few participants. But in the last several years, and I wish Deepak MPP was here to actually say the ministry is doing a good job. They actually fund our programs, the provincial government, and we have been funded in the last couple of years to run a program that's specific to finance professionals. So the program, it's a fairly small cohort, 20 to 25 participants. Our participants are internationally educated professionals. They've held roles, various roles, right? Starting from associate to managers. We've had VPs, we've had financial controllers and CFOs who take our program. They've all been in very senior roles in their home country. They come to Canada. Everything that made them successful there somehow just doesn't seem to work the same way. I had a participant who said, in Brazil, a hammer is a hammer. When I came to Canada, it became a screwdriver, and I don't know why, right? And that's really what we do, is to help you understand those nuances, help you, what Wanzi said. She talked a lot about, being visible. How do you gain that visibility? We focus, coming from different parts of the world, on what was valued in our home countries. So, for example, an example that I often give is, how do you manage or how do you lead a team? In a hierarchical culture, you lead a team by becoming the patriarch of your team, or the matriarch, or whatever term that you choose. That wouldn't do well here. And imagine I'm in an interview and I'm saying, oh, that's what I did, and the first thought that goes into the interviewer's mind is, this is not the right person. But there are a lot of other things that you did that is transferable, right? And so we focus a lot on what is it that you bring to the table, how do you communicate the value that you bring to the table, but also how do you align it with what does the organization need? And our 6-month program really is focused on various aspects of career, of communication, of intercultural skills, and I'm missing the fourth part, which is the financial component. Thank you, sorry. And again, when I talk about communication, it's not about English. Many of us come from cultures where we speak English. My first performance review, my manager said, needs to learn English. I was offended. I was very upset. For a very long time, I just couldn't get over it. But here's what would have happened. I would have gone and taken an English class. But the challenge was not that my English was wrong, not my grammar was wrong. I have a mother who is a grammar teacher, and she drilled it into me. The challenge was my communication style was different. And that's what the program focuses on. How is it that your communication style can impact the way people perceive you? And that's what we do.
That's great. So how do you measure success?
So success for us, we measure it in several different ways. There's a lot of qualitative success that's very hard to describe, and I have a couple of my graduates here, which is lovely to see you here, but I think a lot of them talk about the feeling of belonging, the sense of confidence, and knowing that I actually have the skills to succeed here. Now, those are very hard to measure. We are funded by the government, so there is definitely KPIs and measures of success. One of our biggest ones is the salary. So we look at salary increase. Salary increase is measured 1 year after they advance. Typically in a class, and I'm talking of the finance program very specifically, their salary increases, anything from, we just did a recent analysis from, 5,000 to as much as 200,000. And the first time I saw it, I was like, there's something wrong in this. Maybe I don't know how to measure the percentage of increase. But that's true. And the average salary, in the program after they graduate in 1 year is around 110K, which is pretty significant because when they started it, they were at a much lower level. But what I love about is to see the percentage increase. And the average percentage of increase is about 37%, which is very hard sometimes, right? Even for a Canadian bond to achieve. And it's not that they didn't have the skills. It's not that they learned new skills. It's just that they learned to communicate those skills differently.
That's brilliant. So is this program going to expand?
It is. We have a new cohort starting in September, so definitely. We have different streams of it. We also have different branches of it. So we have one in change management. We have one in technical sales, in supply chain management, and the finance program. So those are the 4 main ones that we have. But we are also at the stage where we were like, okay, we've been focusing a lot on let's get the immigrant and support them and helping them to adapt. But I think it's time to shift that conversation. And we're launching a new program, which is in January. We're calling it Navigating Intercultural Complexities. And this is for managers. This is for the managers who are hiring international talent, who are managing a diverse workforce. We are living in a time where I think all of us are very afraid. We are very afraid to speak because we are afraid that we might offend somebody. We are very afraid to make a statement because it's not politically correct. But we've also been given those challenges in our workplace. Create a diverse team, work with a diverse team. But there's very little support on how do you do it, and this new program is really targeted towards that. What do you do on a daily basis to what I call creating your own microcosm of inclusion? It doesn't matter what your organization does and believes. It may be inclusive, it may not be, but you can create that little bubble of inclusivity for your team. And this program is very hands-on, very practical. You're using VR, virtual reality, for some of our courses, really to understand how can you be a manager of a very diverse team and help your team succeed.
I'm interested. Sorry.
You go.
I will stay on script. So drawing from your experience working with new Canadians, what steps can employers take to enhance the inclusion of immigrants and support their career progress?
I think a lot of it was spoken by everybody here in the panel, and I don't know, I was just nodding my head and I was going, yes, 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 this is right, right? I think employers have come a long way. I came to Canada 20 years back, and the conversation has shifted. And I'm very glad to see that. As a Canadian, it brings me much joy. The beauty of Canada is its diversity. And so how do we harness that? How do we, make use of it? Because Canada has one of the most educated population in the world. And yet we all know stories of people who are working in survival jobs. So what employers can do is, and I think I'm generalizing here, we tend to hire for diversity because now that is what we are expected to do. Organizations are recognizing that the importance of diversity, but we also fire for lack of fit, right? The story of let's go bring the most innovative person, and they hire the innovative person, and then the person comes up with their ideas, and then you say, oh, that's not how we do things here. Oh, but if you would try to do it this differently. So recognizing that, is that what you're doing? Are you hiring for diversity, and are you firing for fit? But creating the environment where diverse talent can actually flourish. I use a term very often called cognitive diversity, which is the diversity of thought. We hire for people who look different, but are we allowing diverse thought to flourish? And I can tell you, I have a very diverse team. We're a team of 15, and we have multiple countries there. It's hard work. It exhausts you. It can be difficult. But is it rewarding? 100%. On a daily basis, I wake up and I'm glad for the team that I have. But the things that we do is to create that environment. It means that you need to be at it. It's a lifelong learning. You won't learn it in one day. You won't learn it in 2 days. But creating that environment, one of the concepts we talk about in our team is the concept of a brave space. A brave space is a place where everybody has the capacity to grow, to learn, but also to make mistakes. But you can't get to that brave space till you've created a safe space. And so I use the analogy of baking a cake, and those of you who bake cakes know this. Before you start baking a cake, you preheat your oven. If the temperature is too high, your cake will burn. If the temperature is too low, your cake will collapse in the middle. And that's what employers need to do, preheat it to the right level so that the environment is where every cake can flourish and rise. And I don't mean people are cakes, but I think you get what I mean.
That's a brilliant analogy. I like that a lot. So what are the key messages you want people to leave with here, both those in the audience that are new Canadians and those that are with companies that are hiring?
So for the new Canadians, everything that the panelists said today, 100% endorse it. Absolutely, the messages were so on point. You have the capacity, you have the ability, you brought the skills to this country. It's a question of finding that right place and harnessing it. The second one is invest in yourselves. I know it's hard. You've come to this country. You're hoping to make a living, and then sometimes you have to take certifications and you have to take courses. But it's a worthwhile investment. Invest in yourselves by learning, by listening, coming to events like this, connecting with people who've been through the same path that you have. And I think I'll go back to what Neelam said. She said that I had transferable skills. Finding what that is, and how does that fit with the kind of jobs that you want. So take that time. I am going to make a shameless plug for my program here, but there are lots of programs like that to support you. Not just what we have at Rotman, but find the program that will actually help you to get to where you want to go. It's very confusing for a newcomer. You get very conflicting information. And so find it, what is your need and where is the gap, and find the program that will support you to get there. So that's for newcomers. For employers, I think, we live in a very beautiful country. What I love about this country is the fact that I get to meet people from every part of the world. I learn from them on a daily basis, but we also have a lot of work to do. And so to think about what you can do to create those brave spaces, to create those inclusive spaces. Again, a shameless plug for my program, which is Take the Navigating Intercultural Complexities program. But more importantly, I think I want to talk about, it's not that people are difficult or different, and that's wrong. Very often people, and I'll give you an example. I was working with somebody from a part of the world, sales guy, very, very aggressive, even for me, and I come from a very aggressive country. And I looked at him and I said, you want to work in sales, but sales is all about building relationships. And have you ever thought that you're coming across as very aggressive? And he looked at me and said, what? No, I'm not. And he just couldn't understand that. Now, in any employment space, he is going to be considered a liability. But to help him to work through that, right? For him, that is assertive behavior. For you, that is aggressive behavior. And we're very quick to label others. We're very quick to say, oh, this person is, and Neelam, I keep going back to her because I mean, she's a graduate of the program, but I also listen to her a lot. One of the things that she said was the biases that we bring from our own cultures here and how that influence the way we behave, the way we talk, and the way we interact. So for employers to recognize that, there's an example that I give very often. When you are, going into a conversation where there is somebody, it doesn't have to be just a newcomer. It could be somebody who's different from you. If you have labeled the person, this conversation is a difficult conversation. This person is difficult. This person is aggressive. This whatever label that you choose to give them, you're approaching the conversation from a place of, oh my goodness, a problem to be fixed, and I'm going in here to fix it. I would really like everybody to take a minute before you go into these conversations and pause and think of, this is a conversation where I'm going to learn more. This is a conversation where I'm going to be curious. One of the things that I talk a lot about in my program is the difference between being a scout and a soldier. When you're a soldier, you're defending. You're going there to defend your viewpoint. You are aggressive, and this is not okay. But if you were a scout is going to look at more, and you're approaching the conversation with, tell me more. I've noticed that you do this. The conversation outcome is very different. It's not easy, but it's possible, and I think that's my message for all employers.
And I will add to that a version of exactly what you said is, when you're listening, are you having a conversation, are you listening to respond, or are you listening to understand what they're saying? So are you taking the time, mind power, to figure out how you're going to respond as opposed to just sitting back and listening? It makes a world of difference. And I would ask all of you to try that one time. It's amazing how quickly you're jumping to an answer before the question is even finished. So your version, so we're ending almost, well, it's a bit early, but that's fine. Are there any questions, specifically from the employers, I would think, if you have any questions, because I have a few for later. Yes?
Does the program, like you mentioned the Ontario government funds it, do the participants pay for the program? Do employers sponsor participants to take the program? Like how do you actually pay for the program?
Sure, thank you. So the program, the generosity of the government, they fund the program so we can offer it at a very subsidized tuition. But there's also a funding called the OBPAP, which is the Ontario Bridge Participant Assistance Program. And so they get funded through that to pay for the program. There are certain participants who are not eligible because of where their incomes are, current incomes are. Some of them get funded through their employers. Some of them get paid out of their own pockets. But here's what I'm going to say, and this is to everybody. We had somebody from the ministry, come in and do a presentation, and he was saying he was doing the math about the program. As far as the government is concerned, the investment in the program pays for itself within a year because of the higher taxes that people are paying. So think of it, you are all in the financial industry, the return on investment is worth it. And and I'm not saying because it's our program, but every time I see the salary changes, and I'm like, wow, right, this does happen. So yes, to answer your question, there is funding and support available. And there are other resources as well. I know there's somebody from Windmill here. There are other resources to help you fund the program. Yes?
What are the requirements for acceptance of the program?
Sure. So you need to be an internationally educated professional. So which means, and I'm assuming you're talking about the Business Edge Finance program for internationally educated professionals. You need to be an internationally educated professional. Your highest degree needs to be outside of Canada. So you may have taken college levels or certification courses here, but your degree must be outside of Canada. This is one of those programs. Our program is focused on career advancement. So it's not about finding your first job. So we do expect that you have had some experience here in Canada. And the reason behind it is that whatever you learn in the program, our participants actually go and try it out in their workplaces, and they start seeing, how that works for them. And so you must have had some kind of work experience here. You need to have, a language level, the Canadian language benchmark, and our benchmark is 8. So you need to have level 8 at all 4 levels, and you must be from the financial industry. So definitely to understand, some of the financial concepts. So have, either a Master of Finance or an MBA or an accounting designation. Any of those designations, those will be the main requirements. And I'm looking at my team to see if I've covered everything. Or right? Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, one more.
Thank you.
So I'm interested because there are so many financial careers that are entrepreneurial in nature, right? So you can take over a business.
Yes.
You can start your own business, but as Jody said, it's a lot easier to take over somebody else's business or have that pathway. Does the program have a component that kind of looks at that entrepreneurship angle, to help support somebody who maybe does want to become, buy their own financial planning practice, or be a succession plan in a financial, does it have that entrepreneurial, is there an entrepreneurial component or stream?
Okay, so that's a complicated question. The reason it's complicated is because the government doesn't fund us for that. The funding is focused on getting them into careers that are, commensurate with their international experience. Unfortunately, they still haven't started measuring entrepreneurship as an outcome of the program, and it's partly also because they have other programs. But what we found is that many of our participants actually then go on and become entrepreneurs. Becoming an entrepreneur in a new country is also challenging because what you don't know is the cultural nuances, building relationships, and I think what we have found is that a lot of them learn that in the program, because when you are very new to the country and you're trying to build a business, not knowing how relationships are built here, because business is all about building relationships, that they actually are successful, and we have had a lot of people who've moved on to that element of their careers. One of the documents that we work on in the program, which is a very comprehensive document, is a career action plan. And I think pretty much in every career action plan, I see that over and over again. 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan needs to be self-employed. A lot of them may or may not go that way, but definitely it is an important, we see it as an outcome of the program. And I just wanted to go back to that point of building relationships. How we build relationships is very cultural, and I never understood that till I came to Canada. Because in my head, people are people and you treat them right and it'll all be fine. And I realized that people are people and you need to treat them right. But the way they build trust is very different. And understanding that becomes very critical, especially if you want to establish yourself as an entrepreneur.
So I think that's it for questions. I want to thank Sabina. I think what rounded out everything for today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And as interesting as it is, I don't think the message changed. Every panel talked about it. It was all about communications. It's all about understanding your skills and transferable skills and making it work. And it is on your shoulders to get that role, but you have to find a way of getting a support team. And there's associations. We have some here to help you out. There are mentorship groups. So you can hunt those out, and they're fairly easy to find, really. You Google it, or you reach out to one and they can share with others. But first, I would think, is joining an association or finding a mentorship group, and then have those conversations. So thank you, everybody, for coming today. I have to put my glasses back on. And I'm just going to run through our sponsors again. Without them, we wouldn't be here, and we won't be here, certainly for the number of people that said you have to do more of these. We will be doing more of these. Our presenting sponsor, RBC, Fund Data, Caldwell Securities, Ramachandran Law, CIS Wealth Management, our industry partners, Advocates, Independent Financial Brokers of Canada, the TMX, BlackRock, and IFSC, media partners, Wealth Professional Advisor.ca, and Investment Executive. And again, thank you, most importantly, to you for coming, and hopefully you'll hear more from us. And so I just wanted to thank everybody for coming, and we have your emails, so as we do more of these events, you will hear about them. Whether they're going to be online or in person, we will make that determination going forward, but thank you again, and we will see you next door.
Hey, my name is Shara Santon and I'm the COO here at 369 Connect, the full service marketing agency that helped put together this entire summit, the 2023 Financial Summit for Newcomer Advisors. If you enjoyed this segment or are interested in learning more about our future sessions, please do follow us on socials. Our handle is 369 Connect. Connect with a K. And if you want to get in touch with us, please feel free to reach out to us at hello@369connect.co. And please do follow us on our socials, on YouTube, like and subscribe.